Welcome to Southern Maryland Sports Journal. I'm your host, Travis Thomas. You know, finally, football season is right around the corner. Now, training camps are in session from the pros to the high school ballers. Who better than former Leonardtown football head coach James Klenk, who's now training athletes at Maximum Health and Fitness, to give us an inside look of what it's like to prepare for the upcoming season.
The focus should be 100% on strength and then football-specific conditioning. There is a cardiovascular element to football, but not as much as other sports, say long-distance running, etc. But the best football teams are the strongest football teams, and especially now with systems varying, you want to cater your strength and conditioning program to your system. Okay, it's a bench press, upper body movement. It's pretty self-explanatory. Biggest thing we want to go from mid-chest up to our eyes when it comes in terms of movement, from as you apply the force. A safety precaution, one of the big changes in strength and conditioning now is when we lower the weight, we don't want our elbow coming past our shoulder. If it goes too far past, we start getting into smaller muscles that might not be able to support the weight, and then you suffer shoulder injury. This is the bench press. Hands want to be same on either side. I like to use the middle finger. And then you're going mid-chest, eyes, mid-chest, eyes, mid-chest, eyes. Feet shoulder width apart. Hands can be either opposite or the same with a pronated grip. And we just basically, once we get the weight up, we want to lower with our hips and then explode forward with our hips. Chest up, back straight, like that. And then the hips shoot back, and then the hips forward. Hips back, hips forward. Hips back, hips forward. And that's just to work basically everything in the core. And if you look it up online, there's probably upwards of 20 plus muscles that are worked in the deadlift. Okay, the squat is very similar movement to the deadlift. Feet are going to be shoulder width apart. When it comes to loading the bar, a lot of people put a pad on the bar and load it on their spine. We don't want to do that. We want to take the pad off and load it on our shoulder blades. We squeeze our shoulder blades together when we load it. So it's resting more on our traps. Same movement as deadlift. Hips are going to go back. I put a box down there to make sure we get low enough. And hips are going to go back. We're going to just tap the box once we get down there, and then hips are going to shoot forward. It's not an upward movement, it's a hip forward movement. So when we squat, hips back, hips forward, back, forward. Same thing as deadlift, chest and back. Chest is up, head's up, back is straight.
Back here now in the Channel 10 studios with my main man, Dallas Cogle, Southern Maryland Newspapers. Welcome back to the show, my
Always
friend.
a pleasure.
Hey, it's our favorite time of the year, high school football season. Can you smell it in the air, Dallas?
I can smell the cleats, the gross uniforms, but can we sing "It's the Most Wonderful Time"?
Well,
of the year?
Okay, cleats and some of the pads.
Yeah,
maybe we don't want that
leave
smell.
them be. Yeah.
But the fresh cut grass smell—that's football season now, right?
Especially if you're a Riken fan, you got a turf that never looks like it's dated or aged.
Yeah, you don't know what you're missing.
That's right.
We'll get to Riken. I'm glad you brought them up, but let's start with SMAC. Let's start with. Here's my first question to you. Hard-hitting questions right out of the gate. Out of the local teams in SMAC. Great Mills, Chopticon, Leonardtown. Put them in order. Who finishes top to bottom this season?
That's a tough one. Going into last year, we kind of knew Leonardtown was going to be good. They were coming of age, but they lost 21 seniors from last year's team that finished 8-2 and just missed the playoffs. It would have been their first playoff berth in 44 years. And then you got Great Mills, which is still searching for the first win in the Tyrone Bell era. He's going into his third season. They've had winless years the last 2 years. I think by default, and I don't want that to sound disrespect, disrespectfully to the Chopticon Braves fan base and their program, because Tony Lasante is a great coach, but I think by default, the Chopticon Braves will be the best SMAC team in St. Mary's County this year. They did not lose a ton of players from last year. They did lose some key guys. Tyler Rhodes, their wide receiver linebacker, gone. Joey Brittenbach, running back Jacob Taylor. Braxton Powell.
Braxton Powell was their real go-to guy.
He was. And granted, those are key players, but they do return some depth that some of those other teams don't return. And again, Great Mill's still trying to build from that ground up. Not sure what they're going to have. They may have a 1 or 2 win season. I mean, if they can go on and have a 4 or 5 win season, that'll be the story of the year in the SMAC. But,
absolutely,
you know, I think we got to be realistic. Leonardtown is the great question mark. I do think they have winning in their culture there, even though they lost a lot of seniors. So I'm going to say by a smidge, Chopticon over Leonardtown.
Yeah, it's funny sometimes how cyclical sports are, because I remember last year at this time covering the conditioning and things for those teams. And the narrative was Leonardtown was senior laden, playmakers all over the place, expected to do well, as you said. Great Mills rebuilding, and Chopticon, a lot of talent, but young, very young team. Yeah. Now everything flips. Yeah. Those seniors at Leonardtown, they're out, right? Chopticon's older, expected to do better, you know, as far as the local. Great Mills still rebuilding, although much better. I was at their conditioning recently. They got a lot of strong guys, a lot of fast guys.
And they've always had that down at Great Mills. You know that's your alma mater. You're strong and, you know, svelte figure. And so they do breed those athletes, but football is the ultimate team sport. You got offense, defense, special teams, and they all have to come together, and then coaching plays a huge part in all that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see over at Leonardtown now, too, with Coach Klenk, who we saw earlier in the program, out now. So there's a little bit of influx there as well as far as the leadership.
Very much so.
Let's jump to Riken. This program has taken giant leaps forward in the past few years, I would say.
Yes.
Now they're going to be expected to really take it to that next level. They've had some injury issues in the offseason already with Damian Jones, really their top guy, one of their top offensive guys, going out with an injury. Is this a team that you see sort of taking that leap to the next level?
Well, when you lose a key player to injury, that can always be a little kink in the armor. But on the whole, I like the St. Mary's Riken program. Now, they are coached, and we mention this every year at this time, by the great Jerry Franks. He's got a pedigree of winning football on his resume. Jerry Franks is now going into his 4th year. Isn't it crazy? It seems like we were just talking about him moving from Huntingtown, and that was a bit of huge news from Huntingtown in Calvert County down to St. Mary's. Riken, going from public schools to the independent school ranks, and now he's been there 4 years, and in his first 3 years he's gotten better with each season. 3-7 his first year in 2011, 7-3 in 2012, 8-2 last year. Keep in mind that last year when they went into that season, they knew they were relatively young. Now, granted, they had 10 seniors on last year's team, but they had 13 freshmen and sophomores who are now going to be sophomores and juniors. So what Jerry Franks does, and you can do this a little bit more, especially if you're a good coach and your program has got a reputation of being a winning program, you can stockpile and continue to keep quality players coming through the ranks, because obviously you can recruit. And you know, you're not supposed to recruit at the public school ranks, and obviously people can sign up to go there that don't even live in your county, and he's had that at St. Mary's Riken, taking advantage of that private school program. I think they're going to at least be what they were last year, 8-2. Maybe it's hard to doubt Jerry Franks and where that program's going. Maybe they have a 9-1. Maybe a 10-0 season, but I think 9-1, 10-0, and again, we talk lofty like that, given what they've done the last 2 years. I think those would not be kind of where I doubt they go into the season going, we better go 9-1 or 10-0 where it's a disappointment. But I do think they want to pick up where they left off last year, and whatever lofty record that is, then we'll see how it unfolds.
Let me take you back on 1 second on something you said and just touch on it. I've had some public school coaches tell me, man, Riken's really a problem in terms of being able to recruit, and they're taking a lot of that talent pool that would go to the public schools away. Talk a little bit about that and just your opinion on, you know, I know Riken's able to recruit wherever they want, essentially, within the area, but specifically locally, it seems like they're plucking a lot of the best talent.
It is a bit of tough luck for the public schools, and this is why I think if you're a coach at a public school, maybe here in St. Mary's County, or I've heard that from the Charles County school ranks, especially, you tend to hear these cries, and again, you feel somewhat bad for these coaches and programs, but you tend to hear these cries from the teams in the SMAC, the public school teams that maybe are not yearly contenders. Maybe they're below that 500 plateau, and that's because kids want to play for a winner. And what you have at St. Mary's Riken is not only a winner, but you got a winning coach who has got a long reputation of getting things done in the SMAC. He did that at Huntingtown, built them into a major state contender, and so they want to go be part of that at St. Mary's Riken. You look at the field at St. Mary's Riken, the amenities there, the program is on the rise. They're kind of the St. Mary's, they're kind of the program that you have in St. Mary's County. You have that with North Point, which is public school over in Charles County, that has the great field facility, the natural or the artificial turf and so forth. So some of it's tough luck, but I will say this to the public school ranks: stay after it. Develop the best you can out of your programs, because if you can ignite that switch and you can win, and what I think it forces is these coaches to almost have a more personal relationship with their players. So their players feel tied on a personal level, not just that's where I go and play football at. Stay after it, and I think if you have that personal bond with your players, it'll make it tougher for them to jump ship even to a successful program like St. Mary's Riken.
Well, we'll have St. Mary's Riken and the local SMAC teams right here on MetroCast Channel 10 every week as we feature our high school game of the week. Yours truly with the play-by-play and post-game analysis. Dallas Cogle, Southern Maryland newspapers. He'll have everything else in between covered for you. He's a utility guy. Even though it's football, he's a five-tool player right
I try. I've had to hone my skills, and being around other playmakers like Travis helps me.
Thank you for watching Southern Maryland Sports Journal with me, Travis Thomas, exclusively on MetroCast Channel 10.
Changing times brings changing needs. That's why, for your convenience, Booth's Heating and Air have extended their service hours to 10 hours a day, Monday through Saturday, at regular service rates. Through rigorous training classes and courteous business practices, Booth's technicians always go above and beyond to provide you with award-winning customer service that you can trust. Booth's Heating and Air, serving the Southern Maryland area since 1993.